Hello everyone, I am Tacit, and today I'm going to be going over the Gems of War Krystara Fried Chicken event in which Brian the Clucky is added to the game. So of course I was off the other week due to seeing family for vacation, but we are finally back and should be completely back on schedule, including this video that we post every single week. But anyways, we got quite a few things happening this week. It is the start of Season 8 or Campaign 8. We have a new Wish Gem, a new troop, and quite a few fun things like a Vault event, third Vault event within a month, another one happening this weekend. So quite a few interesting things. We're going to start with the new troop per usual, though we do have something kind of interesting to go over with it. It does come in with green red, so you can stock up on those for 200 glory each. Very cheap. The ability itself is pretty underwhelming. It just eliminates some points from of random skill from all enemies. This is basically like Azura or Plague. Overall, it does like a middle ground. Actually, I believe it does more than both of them, but it doesn't have any kind of secondary effect, and for that reason, you're probably almost never going to use this. You're probably better off just doing Azura or just not using any troop similar to this, as stat reduction is pretty inconsistent. Most noteworthy thing it has, 10% chance to create a Wish Gem when my turn begins. This is a brand new power gem that has been brought in with Season 8. Basically, it does one of 5 different things. Well, for one, you cannot take this from the board. It's basically like a stone block in that regard, in that you have to destroy it or explode it for it to be removed off the board. It does not count as any specific color. However, when you end up destroying it, you will get full mana. It'll do one of 5 different things as far as giving you full mana. It'll completely fill the mana of a random ally, or it'll completely fill the mana of 2 random allies, or it'll completely fill the mana of 3 random allies, or it'll completely fill the mana of all allies, or it'll completely fill the mana of all allies and enemies. So this thing is going to be insanely luck-based, but the amount of value you can end up getting from it, especially with extra turn builds, is going to be kind of interesting. The most noteworthy thing about this too is the campaign mythic is actually a goblin, which of course means it has extra turn on ability, and it does have a chance of creating wish gems, both off its final trait and off its ability itself, 1 in 3rd off its ability, and 1 in 5 per turn off of its final trait. So there might be some really weird, not that goblin builds weren't already weird already, but even weirder goblin builds that might be coming at the end or near the season, or near the end of the season, because that definitely has potential to work really well with extra turn spam, particularly extra turn spam that are capable of destroying and or exploding, which goblins can do that. So it'll really be kind of interesting to see how that pans out, especially with some of the more higher mana cost ones that can end up doing so, because that is full mana. It doesn't matter if they're like 20, 30, it will fill them all the way. So you're going to be able to gain a lot of weird ways to alternatively gain mana this season. So it's something to definitely consider, especially for things like Guild Wars and such that we're going to be having. So it's probably going to be pure chaos. So we'll see exactly how it pans out. But anyways, that's the troop itself. This troop is pretty useless. You're not really going to use it, but it is technically the only way to viably get wish gems at this current moment in time. So if you want to mess with the mechanic, you kind of have to use it. Also, it's a pretty funny play on Brian the Lucky, the free epic that you get from the kingdom when you complete it out. It's Brian the Clucky. But anyways, as far as other things that we got going on, we have an event key drop table that is actually pretty solid. One thing to consider this Monday to Thursday until Friday reset, Glory Gem Guild and VIP chests still give you the new mythic that came out last Friday. We covered a video on that. Overall, just slightly above average, probably worth potentially skipping. However, it is a magic-based kingdom, so do keep in mind you might want to have it for kingdom upgrading purposes, if nothing else. It's also particularly good if you don't have Mother of Darkness or Zugoff, and if you don't have either, then extremely good to pick it up, as it is basically kind of an alternative to those 2 troops as far as how it gets used. So that's still in the drop table until the end of Thursday in the Glory Gem Guild VIP chest. As far as the event key drop table, though, we have some pretty juicy stuff. So if we go over to Zacian, everything underneath the kingdom category of Zacian is indeed available. The most noteworthy thing, probably out of anything that you can end up getting, is the High King Iron Gut. Really good delving troop. It is unfortunately a mythic. However, pretty much everything that you're going to be picking up has an extra turn capability, as every goblin has extra turn, and almost this entire kingdom is goblin. So almost everything from the event key drop table, if you're still missing some stuff from Zacian, is going to be pretty solid. There are different degrees of good depending on what kind of team you're getting, but it's definitely worth trying for High King Iron Gut with your event keys if you currently do not own a copy of him. So definitely make sure to do that this week, as is one of the better value weeks to be using event keys on. So do consider it, and you're going to get a lot of utility troops that have extra turn spam. Also, I almost forgot to mention, I believe this is the first time Flaming Ani is in the event queue drop table. He, of course, came in, I believe, a few months ago or so. He came in with like that burning gem thing, which isn't really too interesting. It just burns all enemies. However, if you didn't end up picking him up, he is also in the drop table. Of course, Mythic's pretty inconsistent with how they drop, but this is the first time he is targetable specifically with event keys, so that is a factor nonetheless. Anyways, with the start of a new campaign, we of course have the start of World Event once again doing its thing and having the most annoying scoring system in existence. Luckily, this can be averted pretty easily. It seems the only thing you really have to do is just don't take the Innkeeper, and if you avoid the Innkeeper and the Fundagingus, you'll probably be fine. The Innkeeper is the absolute worst valued one, and the Fundagingus is the second worst value one, so as long as you just avoid those two, you should be getting the full amount of value from your takes here. So it should be pretty straightforward, even though the scoring is super annoying as far as what resources you're getting in return. It is spell damage, and it is also, oddly enough, a night restriction. It's a night restriction that's green-blue, though. One really unfortunate thing about this is the knight that gives all knights 50% mana start is a brown-yellow Sir Quentin Hadley. And unfortunately, Sir Quentin Hadley, due to being... that's not how you spell sir. I cannot type, apparently, with the mic in the way. I will eventually hit the S. But Sir Quentin Hadley, unfortunately, we have 4 Sirs. Not any of them are Sir Quentin Hadley because it's not a brown, or because it is a brown-yellow. It is not a green nor a blue. So the thing that gives all knights 50% mana start during a night event is not usable. So that's kind of unfortunate and going to make things a little bit more annoying as far as how you compose a team, but you can still work around it. There's things that create gems, there's mana accumulators, you still have the enchant value, and there's quite a few things that can hit all enemies, and combined with extra spell damage, which we do have for the event, you can kind of get it down that way and just kind of do an AoE kind of build and end up winning out. But that's the World Event. Overall, definitely a bit more annoying than the last weekend's Invasion event, that's for sure, where we had all goblins to use. Anyways, as far as other things that we got going on this week, we have Amanithrax on Tuesday, which is a pretty straightforward one. You have access to 4x Truffle for the Pure faction. You have access to Brown-Green, leading to quite a few easy teams for that. The Zacian pet is available this Wednesday. A really good pet to pick up because generally you're going to be 4x Goblins is a pretty decent combination. And 4x Goblins generally resides with all 4 of them being in Zacian. So you get quite a bit of a bonus from having the Zacian pet as well as the Goblin one, and this one is specifically for Zacian bonus. Thursday we have the Thief hero class, which is arguably the best stealthy hero class in the game, particularly for Guild Wars, which, if I'm not mistaken, we have next week, assuming they get it functioning again. So definitely worth potentially leveling that up some, maybe not worth putting gems into. However, it is a pretty decent stealthy hero class if you haven't already gotten it leveled to at least 40, ideally to 70 or even all the way to 100, so that you can get the full amount of benefit from it. But pretty good hero class, and I highly advise utilizing it. Because it has a lot of resummon combined with stealthy, and it has a pretty decent amount of kill potential for a stealthy related hero class. Anyways, aside from that, we also have a Friday Volt event, which is probably the most relevant thing that we have going on this week other than this new campaign starting today. Volt event, of course, is nice. Third one within a month. I'm not sure if this is a regular thing now, but that is extremely abnormal because normally they're about 6 weeks divided from each other, and now we've gotten 3 within like 4 or 5 weeks or so, so quite a bit because of the holidays and stuff, but I'll probably go back to a slower rate soonish, but enjoy it while you can with the Volt event this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Anyways, as far as Soulforge, I actually didn't look at it earlier. Let's see. Sylvania Moore, was that relevant? Wasn't there a troop that was supposed to be good with recently, and then it kind of wasn't? Zillopotchli is one of the worst mythics in the entire game. Looks pretty bad. Vashtogon is picked up occasionally for its curse on Brown. Not really needed much, I would say. Megavore is relevant in that it has a 4x armor tier. It also has a really small chance to insta-kill. It's normally too inconsistent to use. It's occasionally used for that armor tier, but generally you're not going to be using it. Wolf Garrick's horrible, the other one's horrible. Yeah, nothing really too worth going out of your way for. It's either Megavore or Vashtogon, and either of them are such a high priority to a degree where I'd probably just skip them unless you need them for kingdom upgrading purposes. However, there is one exceedingly, ridiculously, absurdly important thing to make sure you do not leave this week with, and if there's anything you do in Soulforge, it should be this. Norbert's Turnip. It is among one of the top 10 best weapons in the game. Might even be like top 3. It could arguably even be the absolute best, though it only works with Goblin teams, so maybe not absolute best. But it is really strong. If you just read its ability, it seems like it's the exact same thing as like a lot of other things. You just deal some damage, boost based on goblins, which is a good typing, but you know, it's just creating a bunch of green and red. The reason this is relevant is it has quick. it gains an extra turn. So you get to automatically gain an extra turn every single time you cast this Turnip. It also has that combined with a small mana drain, on top of the fact that it's still doing this, so it's gaining a ridiculously high amount of mana off of an automatic extra turn, and then you just get all that other value. You can also technically end up utilizing this with immune to freeze hero class. Normally it's obviously used with a goblin hero class, the thief, in order to utilize it for the extra boost ratio. However, it is possible to synergize it with a hero class that has immune to freeze, so that you would have simultaneously both immune to freeze while also still having the protection on your extra turn from the immune to freeze. So there's quite a few things that you can end up doing with it, though primarily it's used with a thief hero class with 3 other goblins, and then you just go absolutely crazy, infinite loop them, and then win. I believe I show one of the teams for it as well in one of the ones that we will be going over in a little bit when we go over all the teams. Aside from that, rest are pretty much worth skipping unless you're getting them for completions purposes. But if there is anything that you get this week, do make sure you get Norbert's Turnip. It is so ridiculously important. It is probably even more important to get than like Rope Dart and stuff, which will hopefully rotate around again soon. But yeah, do not leave this week without Norbert's Turnip. Anyways, Tribute's ready. Might as well grab that. So let's go over some of the... Actually, let me go over the campaign pass real quick. As well as show off the star, because that is a new mechanic, though I believe I show it on the first team. So as far as campaign, it goes the same as always. Nothing's really changed, other than the fact that, you know, new rewards here. Most of it's just kind of scrap, some cosmetic stuff, all that normal things. There's really only 3 relevant drops these days for these that aren't just additional resources. We have ourselves the Godmother's Wand. So this has some potential. It explodes some gems and then creates a wish gem, with the more relevant thing being that it has an explosion while creating a wish gem. This is a really strong combination because wish gem has to be either destroyed or exploded, and this does 2 things. It does the explosion that it needs, and it creates the gem to get it in the first place. So this does have some potential to be really good if you end up getting the explosion on it. It does end up creating the wish gem seemingly after the fact based on its wording. I assume, or at least assume based on that wording, like it'll do the 3 explodes and then create the wish gem. If it creates the wish gem and then does the 3 explodes, which I highly doubt it will do it in that order, it'll be absolutely broken beyond belief. It will be a really good weapon, but I assume the 3 explosions will occur first, then it will create the wish gem, which is still good, just not as good as the inverse, of course, but still has potential. Aside from that, we have the Fool. We don't know what's going to be used for. A lot of tarot cards recently have not been getting a crafting purpose, so not sure what's been up with that. It does have like a little weird jumble mechanic to both the board and the enemy while having an extra turn thing, kind of like all these have. Overall, seems kind of okay. Has bad turret as well for those random negative stats effects. But yeah, they haven't really been giving us like a crafting thing for them, so hopefully we'll end up seeing what that is this campaign, or at least see a couple of the other ones, or figure out what on earth they're going to do with some of those tarot cards that haven't been used yet. And then, of course, the main thing that's relevant, and pretty much the only reason why you'd really be getting this pass for the most part, and it is to get Fairy Godmother a little bit early. So this thing has a little bit potential. One of the stronger ones that we've gotten from a campaign, though we'll have to see, because it is a bit luck-based in 2 different ways. One is it's luck-based if it creates wish gems, and then it's luck-based on what the wish gems will actually effectively do. However, there is good potential that this will be the most viable way to apply wish gems into the board, unless they do something like last season, where they pull Centurion again, and they just throw some random epic that has the ability to create 1 billion of them, but we'll find out in time. But I assume this will be the best thing for creating wish gems, unless they make another Centurion this season. But as far as what it does, it ends up doing an automatic extra turn, which that is already relevant for a mythic. It's one of only a few mythics with auto extra turn. It's also, if I'm not mistaken, the lowest mana cost mythic of any mythic that has a guarantee extra turn. It then gets to create 2 to 3 wish gems, which either of those 2 numbers is perfectly fine, and then mostly because of how powerful wish gem actually is once it does proc. Or it'll deal damage to all enemies, which is okay. That's basically an auto extra turn full AoE, almost like a truffle without the mana accumulation, for a little bit higher mana cost. Or it'll give a bunch of life to all allies, which is probably the worst one. You don't really want to see it. However, it can be used as like a durability gain to kind of keep you up. A lot of good goblin teams don't really run a life gain. There are some goblins that can do it, though they're normally not used over top of damage options. However, this can do a bit of both, so you can kind of use this as your durability gain of a goblin. So it kind of fills that gap a little bit, because the ones that currently exist you don't tend to use over top of, because the damage source options are just better to win quicker or more mana accumulation. But anyways, all these are boosted by wish gems, though that's not too relevant. You basically have, the most relevant thing is you have a 1 in 3 chance to create wish gems off its ability while having auto extra turn for all 3 of them. and it has a 50% chance per turn to convert a yellow into a wish gem, and generally speaking, there's going to be at least one yellow on the board at the start of every turn, which means about every other turn, even if you're not casting its ability, it's still going to be getting wish gems onto the board. This also starts or triggers exactly at the beginning of your turn, so you will have time to react to this. It's not like it does that at the end of your turn and gives the enemy the potential to use it. You're going to have the chance to use the wish gem before the enemy does. Of course, the biggest issue with wish gems is the enemy might end up getting value from it. However, on all of these options that have it at like start of turn and automatic extra turn with it, it's not going to matter as much because you're still going to have the capability of doing a follow-up like a leprechaun, a thrall, or some kind of like exploding goblin or anything like that. Will be like the main kind of synergies for most of the wish gem related builds. And then of course the extended rewards are still the same from the last few seasons since they buffed it, with a nice little power at the end, some epic vault keys, and some other junk thrown in. But anyways, let's go over all the teams. So first things first, before we go into teams, let me go show the new wish gem mechanic. So here we just have a thrall with 3 Brian the Clucky. This is mostly just to show the wish gem, obviously not a real team. So I'm just going to keep passing my turn until we can get it to trigger. So we're basically just, don't kill the team, I'm trying to show the thing. So I'm trying to get a wish gem on the board, and I will keep stalling until we do. We might accidentally win before we do. Maybe we should increase the difficulty. Whoops, whoops. Okay, we'll try it again. Hopefully we'll get a little bit less unlucky. It's 10% chances per turn. There we go. Unfortunately, I don't have an option for it because it's turn 1 and we don't have mana yet, and I didn't bring Leprechaun. Okay, now we're getting all of them, but we can't get the mana. Let's see. Wonderful. If I could just get one. We're getting it literally every turn now, but I don't have the mana to break it. Any of these things that ever create wish gems that have the capability to destroy in any way, shape, or form that's relevant are going to be good. Just because you need that option, and if the troop itself that's creating the wish gem has that option, that's going to be nice, because you can see what the problem is when you don't have it that way. Please don't deny my purple. Can I just destroy them? Thank you. So you see we have, let me go try casting one more ability because he's not going to do anything relevant. So we're going to do this. So you can see we have technically three things that do not have mana, and then we do this, and you'll notice that we got, it looks like 2 once we end up getting from that. But basically, it'll just fill one of our, or 2, or 3, or all of our allies with full mana, or all the enemies while also doing all of ours. So yeah, it's either 1, 2, 3, 4 of your allies, or all of your allies plus all enemies. So it can do any combination of any number, basically. So we can do 1, 2, 3, 4, or 8, in the sense that 1, 2, 3, 4 of your allies, or all 8, as in your entire team and the entire enemy team. There is no 5, 6, 7 option for the thing. So basically 4 of them are positive, and the 5th one is like full mana for your team, but also full enemy for the other team, which can be positive, can be negative, depends on how it goes. But generally speaking, you want to destroy a wish gem. Like, you're not going to see a wish gem and not destroy it. You're going to destroy it basically every time you ever see it, assuming you have the opportunity to do so. There'd be very rare situations where you wouldn't. And those rare situations would mostly be if the enemy doesn't really have any way to deal with it and you want to use it more like a block. It can kind of do that, because prior to it being destroyed is a block in that sense, because it can't be combined with anything. But aside from that, you're generally going to want to destroy it, assuming you have the capability to. Anyways, let's go over all the actual teams. So first, World Event. This might seem like a little bit of a weird one. When I run it later, I'm going to be doing 3 Champion of Anus with a Dawnbringer, because I actually have that many spares, so why not? However, assuming most people only have 1 Champion of Anu, this is one team that you can end up using. Just a double AoE into Lightborn Paladin. Main reason for Lightborn Paladin is it creates 1 yellow at the start of every single turn, so you can end up doing that to feed into them and then to spam their 2 abilities. You're going to most likely have Enchant as well, so you're going to be passively getting all of their mana up, and then you basically just keep casting Champion of Anu into Dawnbringer because you have extra spell damage, and just keep killing them that way. You also have skull reduction on the Champion of Anu, as well as you can technically set to skull protection on your hero as well. However, this one specifically uses Frost Mage, but you can, of course, change the hero class if you so choose. Frost Mage mostly for the half mana start and a little bit extra damage it gets from Arcane and stuff. Here's the cheaper version of it. This just uses the orb that you get for 250 wins off of Frost Mage. So this weapon, so a nice easy weapon to obtain if you don't have something like Dawnbringer. Otherwise, Dawnbringer probably a little bit of a better bet. Aside from that, Wild Knight you get for free from the Wild Court faction. Main reason for doing this is he has really good tank ability. Actually, out of any of the faction troops, probably one of the tankiest in the entire game, because it gains a bunch of life and attack, gains a pretty decent boost ratio off it, has some board control, and gains barrier, while also having 33% score reduction. Even get some Hunter's Mark on them. But overall, pretty tanky, and main reason why we're using it. And then the Paladins are kind of just here to do a little bit of poke damage. A lot of the low rarity ones don't have full AoE damage, so you could just do Paladin to single out whatever your Orb of Winter isn't doing, or if they get like any kind of resummon or anything, you can kind of do that to focus them down as well. Aside from that, as far as the faction, it is a brown-green restriction, so you can run standard Romaine, you can run Truffles, quite a few options, or quite literally, it's the faction that Truffles came from after all. But this is kind of a standard Romaine build, just without Mirage Queen, because you do not have access to it off of its coloration. For a little bit of a higher one, I did want to show this. I believe I mentioned this on Friday. However, this is the first day, or yeah, Tuesday would be the first day where it is technically viable to run this team. The Mountain Crusher, High King Iron Gut, the Consort of Darkness, and Leprechaun. Keep in mind, Consort of Darkness is still on drop table Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday this week. At Friday reset, it will no longer be in drop table, or at least not the exclusive thing in Glory Gem Guild and VIP chests. But you still have 4 days to go get it if you do want to get it. Not a super high priority, but Tuesday is the first time you'll have to use it, because this is a brown-green related team, or technically a brown and an other color, because you could use a few different mana accumulators there depending on color option. But any time you have access to brown, you can end up running a team similar to this. And the main relevant thing about this is normally under this brown-green restriction, you would not have access to Zugoff. However, you do have access to Consort of Darkness, so you can kind of go down that route and end up utilizing that if you so choose. Not necessarily required, but it is... it's kind of an improvement to this team, depending on what you would normally be using here. Unless you still want to use a curse option, in which case you can. Anyways, but that's the first time he's really going to be viable to actually use for something, and not just built just for the sake of building it. As far as pure faction, ever since King Gobtruffle did get nerfed to a higher mana cost and a little bit... did they change the gem spawn? I can't remember. But he did get like a slight nerf a little while back. This does make pure faction slightly harder. However, he is such a good troop that is still pretty easy. Not the absolute easiest, but definitely towards the easier side of pure factions. So should be pretty straightforward, especially if you're running with potions, especially with like the enchant effect. Because normally the problem when you're running it with potionless is starting mana. But when you have the enchant potion, you kind of just win. Main strategy is get 2 of them to full mana and then just start spamming them. And the rest will have full mana off enchant in that situation. And on Thursday, we have the Fear class. This is pretty much just like a standard Goblin team. Also probably what you could have ran for last weekend as well. Oddly enough, you can also run it for the Thursday class event, because the only restriction is specifically Zacian Goblins. And everything here is indeed a Zacian Goblin. Even the hero class, which of course uses with the new Norbert's Turnip. 100% make sure to get this weapon before the end of the week. It is insanely good. Plus, it'll help you with the Thursday class event, so just get it because it's insanely good. This team in general, also, if you're looking for like a Norbert's Turnip team, this is probably one of the go-to Norbert's Turnip teams. There are a few other ways to kind of build it. This is the way I personally like doing it most of the time. You might notice we're using Toad Squeezer, which might seem a little bit weird because normally you don't use raid or invasion troops, but this is one of the weird ones, which we just had the event for last weekend, where it is actually kind of viable. Main reason being he is impervious while simultaneously having extra turn. This is kind of what I was mentioning earlier with Norbert's Turnip with immune to freeze hero class, where you can kind of have immune to freeze while having an extra turn ability. Well, this guy has it naturally. He is impervious, so not only does he have immune to freeze, but he also has immune to stun and many other things, which makes his extra turn capabilities even more protected. And if I'm not mistaken, one of these is also an explode, so he's going to work really well with star gems as well. So any kind of like star kind of combinations, especially with that one new mythic, might end up being replaced over String Filler, maybe? I'm not sure exactly. I'm pretty sure String Filler would be the replacement for when that mythic comes in at the end of the season, or something similar. You definitely want to keep Norbert's Turnip, that's for sure. Like Toad Squeezer and Norbert's Turnip definitely needs to stay. Truffle probably does just because it's so viable, so that probably means String Fiddler will be replaced out for the new mythic, I would assume, but we'll have to test it once it comes around. Obviously, still got a whole season to go through the whole campaign before we really know its overall viability, since we can't use it until then. But anyways, guys, that will start off Season 8. We are officially back from our trip, so we should be getting back to normal-ish. I also plan to cover quite a few updated guide videos, as well as guide videos I haven't covered this year. So we'll be doing that quite a bit. Not sure if I'll be starting it quite yet this month. I definitely want to try to, but definitely going to be doing a lot more guide videos this year compared to how we have been the last few years, and kind of update pretty much every guide we've ever made, as well as make a bunch of new ones. But anyways, feel free to like, feel free free to subscribe is always greatly appreciated. And we still stream every single night here on the channel at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you ever want to stop by, like tonight, we'll be doing all the Chapter 1 tasks, as well as maybe messing around with the star mechanic. Though for the most part, there's not really much to mess around with it yet, so we might have to wait a little bit on that and probably just discuss some things with Campaign 8. But anyways, guys, I'll catch you later. Hope you all have a wonderful week. Hope you all enjoyed your holidays, and I will catch you guys later. Goodbye, everyone. But thanks for watching.